We've found our little plover chick who's growing very big by the day. Look at the size of it compared to what it was a few weeks ago. It was tiny when we first saw it, and now it's growing. There's mom in front. It's still little. I mean, it's not fully grown by any stretch of the imagination, and it's still trying to huddle in. Look at that. Isn't that cute? You see how it gets in between all the down feathers and it just sits. How cool is that? Our little plover story continues. I've absolutely loved following this around and seeing these little guys. Unfortunately, there's only the one left, but I love how they go underneath the adults and then they cuddle up for a bit of warmth, particularly on cold days like today. And you wouldn't think that that bird would have fitted the way it has, but it is definitely trying to stay underneath there. And it now starting to look pretty ridiculous, as Kirsty's just said, because its tail's now sticking out. It's got this long tail. It looks really quite odd. It almost looks like two birds have been squashed together, which is essentially what has actually happened. So, very cool to see. And so Kirsty's saying that it looks like a bird with four legs. Yes, it's our 4x4 plover. So this is how our plover walks around. It moves with four legs and not just two. But how cool is that? That it went in underneath while we were sitting here. That's very cool. I'm happy that that happened. And like I say, you can see the feathers are developing very quickly. So that little stumpy tail is no longer there. It's now getting a proper tail like the adult. Wings are starting to develop quite nicely, and the feathers are growing at a rapid rate. So it's losing all those down feathers and it's starting to get its adult plumage, which is really very cool to see. So I'm glad that we found them. I thought that they were gone the other day, or 2 days in a row. I've looked for them and I couldn't find them. It just seems that they've moved from where the dam wall is up onto this little sort of inflow section. Snazzy, you think this bird is very fluffy? Well, it is very fluffy. I mean, the young one has to be fluffy in order to keep its body warm and to develop, and it's also still got its down feathers, which help it stay nice and warm. And then the adult, well, the adult is fluffed up because it's cold, so birds will fluff their feathers and trap air against the body and just try and stay as warm as possible in conditions like this, and so that's why they look a little fluffier than they normally would. But how cool is that? If you drove past that, you'd probably think it's just an adult bird all on its own. There's no sign of any little one, but as you can see, if you look closely, sometimes you can get spoilt with these kind of things. So I was coming down, and I actually didn't really pay too much attention until the little one came bounding across the road in front of us, following its parent, and I'm glad that we did take a second look. Very, very cool. Now, other than that, there's not too much else going on at Chitwa Dam this morning. It seems to be hippos are fairly playful. They're all having a great time at the moment. There's two young hippos that keep kind of going at each other, and mouths are open and having a really kind of good time with things. There's not too much in the way of bird life at the moment. It seems as though the buffalo weavers, which are ever present, are here as normal, and there's been the odd hardy-dar and various other things that have been around the edge that we normally associate with Chitwa. But these two hippos in particular are being very cute. They both youngish hippos. I mean, they're not the two babies, so it's not Boo or the newer one that Noel found. These are two slightly older hippos, but they're still having a great time playing with one another. You can see there's water being thrown, mouths are open all the time, they're pushing each other and bouncing around. It's very cute. So it's a morning for cute things. There's little baby animals everywhere at the moment. We've had the little impala lambs, we've had these guys, our little fluffy plovers, and in fact I forgot completely to rate our fluffy plover. What rating do we give it, Kirsty? I think a 9 would be fluffiness for our little plover chick. Our little plover chick is definitely a 9. And also for being cute. Yes, I think so. A 9 is a good call. I agree, Kirst. So it is one of the cutest little birds that I've seen in a long time, and I'm sure we're going to see lots of others. This is why this time of the year is my favorite. So this September, October, November, as we go from winter to summer, I absolutely love the bush at this time. Not only because obviously we get a transformation in the bush itself and we get greenery and those things, but we also get lots of baby animals as well, and it just adds a little bit of cute factor to our lives. Oh, Tony Two Toes, you saying we can't have it in one, the cuteness and the fluffy factor. We have to separate into 2 units of scale. Okay, fair enough. I suppose you're right. But the thing is fluffy animals are cute, are they not? I feel like one goes hand in hand with the other. You can't really have a fluffy animal that isn't cute. maybe you can. I don't know. I've yet to think of one, but I suppose we can separate it. We will judge only on fluffiness from now on. I apologize for getting sidetracked and not thinking about these things more clearly, and so we will go back to fluff per square inch and take away the cute factor altogether. But our plover still gets a 9 because it is about as fluffy as anything could be. In fact, all you can see is just a beak and eyes and 2 little legs sticking out of fluff at this stage. So definitely they get a high scale of fluff, whereas our 2 little hippos, they unfortunately get probably a 2. Paige, you're asking about fluffy hippos, and so yes, like I say, they're pretty much on the snake spectrum. Is 0 fluff on these guys, so they will have to, unfortunately, I'll give them a 1. Let's give them a 1. I was going to go with 2, but unfortunately they get a 1 because they don't have any fluff on them at all. But I like hippos, so I couldn't give them a 0. They have to get at least a 1 for the fluff on their tail. There we go. They get 1 for a fluff on their tail, and that's what they get. Now, there seems to be a crow that is making an awful big racket around here. I don't know where it's gone now. It was around, but hopefully it will land again somewhere where I can see it. But they were making a huge amount of noise earlier. They actually nest on the big tower to the right there. So you can see there's 2 towers that stick up over Chitwa Lodge. So that tower over there is where these crows actually are nesting. In fact, there it goes. You can actually see it flying towards the nest at the moment. So it might go and land on that pylon. Let's see. No. It's going to pass. Is it? Ooh, difficult to tell. Is it a 50-50 split? Is it going to go right or left? It seems like it's going to go to that tower. Maybe it will land. Is it going to land? Come on. It's quite deceptive, the distance between where we are. Yes, there we go. So it's landing on its tower. No, it's not. Off it goes. But they do nest up there. I've seen their nest there, and so they are spending time in that particular area, and that's why they're around. Maybe they've come to where this impala carcass was just to see if there's any scraps from the hyenas or anything else that maybe have feasted on that impala carcass. I'm going to try and see if I can find that impala carcass, because maybe it'll be interesting just to see if there's anything left. Maybe the hyenas have left a little bit. Maybe there is some sign of another leopard here. Who knows? It's worth going and having a little look around. And while we're talking about fluffy things and animals that have fluff, Jamie has one that, well, I don't think we can really scale it, and probably be on a similar level to what the hippos are.
Very fluffy. I think, in fact, the fluffiest of all creatures. I'm, of course, exaggerating, but they are, I wouldn't say they're fluffy, but elephants are definitely bristly. So we've arrived back where we saw that massive male elephant yesterday on the sunset safari, the biggest that I've seen in my time in the Mara. And I was hoping he might be with this group of male elephants, because there's a lot of big bulls moving about this area. I saw the one on the right yesterday. He's got very distinctive ears. Tatty, tatty, tatty left ear. And I remember seeing that yesterday while I was racing through. Oh, I just want to know where on earth the big guy went. Is that it though? Oh no. Okay. I'm not sure. Is that? No, it is a big male elephant, but it's not the big one that I saw yesterday. I'm going to try and fix some gremlins that apparently have jumped on board with us. While we do, let's send you across to Tristan, who's having all the luck this morning and has found yet another exceptionally fluffy creature.
This is the fluffiest that we get. This is a 10 out of 10 for fluff. And as you can see, it is slithering and sliding around. But if you listen, there's also hyenas that are busy calling around us. So I can actually see one coming, but it sounds like quite a few of them are on their way here. So we'll also get those just now. But our monitor lizard is sitting on the bank of Chitwa's dam wall and is taking it very easy. I think it's trying to find some sort of warmth on a cool, overcast day. And this is quite a big monitor lizard. It's difficult to get scale from obviously just a picture like that. But I would say that monitor lizard with its tail is probably between 1.5 meters and 2 meters. So it's a long individual, and it's got a very long tail. while, but I want to go catch up with the hyenas while they're calling, because it's really cool to listen to them. They're making a lot of noise, and I can hear vultures squabbling here as well, so I think this impala carcass is going to attract the attention of these hyenas, and maybe we'll get a situation where the hyenas are going to come down and feed. But I just want to go back again. Well, our lizard's not going to go anywhere, it's going to stay there the whole time, so we'll get back to our lizard just now. Right, hyenas, where have you gone? I saw 2 of them. I'm just trying to work out what's going to be the best approach to these guys, as well as trying to reverse and look at all of you guys and talk as well. So this is becoming quite complicated. We know as men we're not very good at doing 2 things at once, apparently. So right, let's have a little look. Where did they go now? I saw them all coming across. It seemed like more than one. Ah, there they are. They're coming straight towards us now. So you can see there's one running straight across the open area. Now, there was some impala lambs around here, and a hyena is not adverse to trying to chase an impala lamb. We do see it from time to time, although that looks like a fairly young hyena. I can see some more right at the top as well, so it seems like these guys are all kind of meandering about, and I wonder if they'll lead us towards this carcass, if we'll get a situation where they're going to take us straight towards where this impala was, and maybe there's still some meat and we'll see them kind of interacting with one another. But very cool to see, and to hear them as they were coming across this open area was amazing. They were kind of echoing down through the dam. It was very, very cool. So we'll just sit and wait for them. They are coming straight towards us. The other one, like I say, is right up on the top side. I actually can't see it anymore. So Connor, you're wondering if these guys are hunters or scavengers. I think that's what I got. Sorry, the comms broke up a little bit, Connor, so I do apologize if that's not what you asked. But these guys are both, so they neither one or the other. In areas like this where there's a lot of leopard and a lot of lions, they tend to scavenge quite a bit because it's easier for them. But in places where there are very few other predators, hyenas are incredibly good hunters. I have seen hyenas, though, however, in this area hunt extensively. I've seen them going after all kinds of different food items. So you see them. I've seen them hunt bushbuck. I've seen them hunt impalas. I've seen them hunt buffalo. I've seen them even going after elephant calves, which you can imagine is quite a thing to do. So these hyenas are incredibly powerful animals. They're incredibly good at finding food and hunting things down, and so it's amazing to watch them. The time that they hunted an elephant calf was just unbelievable. So there was an elephant herd, and there was about, I would say, it was about 18 hyenas. I think it was 18 or 19, somewhere there, and they were chasing this elephant calf all over the place and nipping at it, and the whole herd was trying to chase the hyenas. It was absolutely phenomenal to watch. So really, really interesting behavior, and amazing to kind of be a part of and to be in amongst that. Also pretty dangerous at the end of the day. It was one of those situations where you kind of felt a little uneasy because elephants were just flattening trees all around us. There was, hyenas coming in, elephants screaming, hyenas making noise. So it was quite something to kind of listen to the soundtrack of all of these guys going crazy. But there is this one, and then there's actually a third one that I can see that's also on its way down this way. I'm just trying to watch this one that's going over the dam wall to see if it goes over and down and towards that carcass, or if it's just going to cross the dam wall itself. Seems as though it's just going to go over the dam wall itself and not worry too much. So I'd imagine this one will follow and the third one will follow as well. As to which hyenas these are, I have no idea. Maybe some of you guys can help us as to which ones we've got. Right, now, while I watch our hyenas and figure out where exactly they're going and whether or not they're going to lead us to something of interest, let's go back across to James Henry, who's probably the most interesting character that we have out here on Djuma Game Reserve.
Well, what I'm doing is feeling quite nostalgic, actually. I'm walking over a branch. That's not why I'm feeling nostalgic, but the last time I was here, this could end very badly for me, and very well, I suppose, for you guys watching. The last time I was here, I was not alone, of course. Liam and I sat right here with Herbert.
Now look at this, the hyenas are tackling the monitor lizard. There goes the monitor lizard. It knows water is safety and it's gone plopping into the water. So it's pretty interesting behavior. At first the hyena went for it and it went down and then it came back out again. And this hyena has thought, well, it's moving, I might as well try. And now it's decided, no, not interested in what's going on, is going to carry on. But you see the nose is down, it's looking down towards the water. And these hyenas are clever though. They know to go into water like this is a bit of a death sentence. So they'd rather probably not do that and leave this monitor lizard to itself and let it just swim around on the edge. The monitor lizard also needs to be careful because this is a big water point and it can eventually get itself into trouble with something like a big crocodile. If a crocodile sees lots of splashing on the edge of water, it will come in here. In fact, look, there comes the croc. You see it, it's coming from the left-hand side there, Sens. So there it comes. It's coming in because it's seen the splashing that's been going on the edge of the water. Now, this monitor lizard is about to be between a rock and a hard place because not only is it now got to deal with the crocodile, but it's got to deal with the hyenas on the bank as well. How cool is this? So you see how perceptive crocodiles are. As soon as a croc heard the splash, it came straight to that area and it's now going to investigate what's going on. The hyena itself is just watching the crocodile coming in and seeing, okay, what's going on here. It's just watching it go about its business. And like I say, I think our monitor lizard is in for a tough time of it. It obviously is able to swim and is very agile, but it's not every day that we can see this situation between a monitor lizard and, like I say, a crocodile and a hyena. And you see how the crocodile comes in right close, is watching, hyenas watching the croc. The hyena's got the advantage of being higher, so it will be able to see that crocodile. But it's very interesting nonetheless to see how this is all going. And I wonder if this monitor lizard is going to come bursting out. You see the hyenas moving this way a little bit in the hope that this monitor lizard comes crashing out of there and the hyena will then be waiting to be able to grab it. So either way, this monitor's got a tough morning ahead of it. It's got itself into a lot of trouble. It should have gone into the water quickly before the hyenas arrived. But you see the hyena's a little nervous of the croc as well. The croc is right up against the edge of the bank now. How cool is this? It's not every day we get to see this at all. In fact, I can't remember the last time we saw crocodile and hyena in the same frame. How awesome. I wonder, the other hyenas are behind me. They're drifting into the bush and are going towards where I think that carcass is. So that's good. We'll just try and kind of keep an eye on them. But to see how this all unfolds as well. I think the monitor lizard has somehow managed to make an escape because the croc is actually eyeing the hyena. The hyena is eyeing the croc and they both seem to be kind of a little bit interested in each other. But there's so much distance between them that hyena is perfectly safe where it is. It's not going to have any issues with having to try and fight with that crocodile because, well, the bank is just too high. That croc will never be able to get close enough to that hyena before it runs away. But if the hyena had to go down towards the water edge, you'll find that it'll be in a lot of trouble. And you can see the hyena is a little bit kind of wary. It doesn't want to go too close to that water. It knows crocodiles are probably not something it wants to tangle with. I can't see where the croc is gone now. I've lost visual of the croc. I think it's still somewhere on the edge of the water there. It was somewhere in that section. I think it's gone underwater now. But no sign of the monitor lizard splashing around either. So I think everything is going to be sort of settled down now. I don't think we're going to see a situation where anything is really going to happen. I think the hyena is going to probably start plodding off at some point. You see its nose is to the ground. It's sniffing where that lizard was sitting and it's probably thinking to itself, well, where's it gone? And it's also just watching the water just in case there's something comes creeping up. But it seems to have decided that it's not too concerned. I'm going to try and just reposition ourselves because the other two hyenas have already crossed behind me and have gone over the damn wall. There's all the hippos yawning as well. It's all happening. So Chris Rogue, you say the one hyena is Comet. Well, that's good news to hear. Here comes a fish eagle as well. It's just gliding straight towards us. Has it got something in its talons? No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to have anything. There it goes, and now it's going to land just on top there. How beautiful is that? I thought it had for a second, I thought it had a bird. It's just amazing how much stuff is actually happening at the dam. There's just things coming from every direction at this stage. So it's really cool to see, and it just goes to show you, sometimes it's worth sitting at water holes like this when you've got things around you, anything can happen, and water particularly is the biggest source of attracting everything. Now, I'm sure these hyenas are looking for this food item. I saw a vulture flying over as well, and I can see now that the first hyena, which is Comet, is going down behind the dam wall as well. So I'm going to try and follow that hyena. But isn't that a beautiful bird? Our fish eagles are some of my favorite birds that we've got. Right, so I'm going to try and keep up with the hyena, because I just want to see where they go and whether or not we get led to a carcass here, because they're all going behind the dam wall, and so I don't want to lose sight of them. I want to try and be able to keep up with them. There they go, they're going down. Let's see, I wonder where it's going to head from here, because I don't know where this impala carcass is or if there is anything left, but it's bounding along. Right, now, while I search, there's some buffalo dung. That's interesting. That's quite nice to see. We'll try and have a look around for that. I wonder if there's maybe not a dead buffalo somewhere in this area. Now, our hyena is going a different way to the way that we can go. So I'm going to quickly come back. And while I do that, I believe Brent Leo Smith, who's 99% live, is rearing to go. So let's jump across to him.
Welcome back to the Mara. We're in an area we haven't spent a lot of time in. We've been searching for the five boys, and we've come across a really big pride of lions. Unfortunately, they're quite well hidden in the croton thickets. Oh, the male's up. Let me just move quickly. So I'm not sure which pride this is. We're probably about 5 kilometers from Sekanani, and there's a couple of big males, and you can just see one disappearing there, hidden in these crotons. I saw at least 3 big males with the pride, and I've seen about 5 cubs, and at least 2 lionesses, but I can't see the rest of them. They're very, very well hidden in here. Oh, he's flopping down in some more shade. Oh, it's very thick in there. Okay, let's just try reposition again. So I have absolutely no idea which pride of lions this is, apart from knowing the fact that they are quite well hidden in the thickets. Just going to try, see if we can get another view. So we're not going to drive into the thicket and cause them any distress. Just see if we can get there we go. I think we're going to get a view of one of the cubs here. How's that, Joe? Forward, back. There we go, in the gap. So, not sure what this pride is called. And as I said, there's 3 cubs close to us. There's a whole pile of lions right in the middle of this thicket. These were the ones that just closest to the edge. Hello, Trouble. Not too full. Not too full. As I said, I was really hoping that we'd get a better view. Let's just move around. Let's see where that cub's going. It might be going to some of the females. They say it's quite difficult to see what's going on in this thicket. I see there's a whole pile more lions in there. I'll stick with the who's being curious. So, some of you might know from on the various groups you're on which pride this might be. As I say, we're on the junction of the main road between Talek and Sekanani. They're right at that junction. And I'd say there's at least 10 to 15 lions, possibly a few more. As I said, it's quite difficult to see into the thickets, and I don't want to drive in there and disturb them. Now you can see, off we go. Behind you can see there's another few bodies. Just, there we go, you can see them flat catting very hard in the shade there. And then where that cub was heading, I could see a few more. I'm going to try to get round to the main road, see if we have a better view from there. But it's always exciting to see a new pride of lions. We were looking for the 5 boys, but unfortunately they've managed to evade everyone this morning. Is this a bit steep? No, it should be fine. Hold on. Whee! Oh, there we go. Let's have a look now if we can find a better view for these lions. Unfortunately, I don't think so. You will see some other vehicles about, also enjoying the safari. Let's see if we can get a gap through here. Oh, there, I can just see a belly through there. Jahawi, can you rear view mirror for me so I don't cause a traffic accident? Let's go round. Oh, now we're off on the move again. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just get past everyone. Okay, we're going to get a good view now. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to go around the vehicles. And hold on. Oh, but while I get into a better position, let's go back to Tristan and a hyena.
Not just 1, 3 hyenas, Brent, and you can see they are cleaning up the last of this impala carcass. There's very little left, bar a few bones, and they've been kind of roaming around, all 3 of them, with noses to the ground, trying to find little bits to finish up, and there was a bit of skin that got waffled down quite quickly, and now it's just bits of bones that are being crunched upon, and it'll be a good opportunity to be able to work out who all 3 of them are. I've seen 1 pasting, which is a good indication that it's a fairly sort of dominant individual. I mean, they all look to me like they are part, obviously, of the same clan. They must be part of the Djuma clan, and it's interesting. Now, this one's going to go have a little swim. Are you going to have a swim or a drink? Or both? I love when hyenas do this because they just go into water and they drink with their mouths in, and then they just lie in it as though it's the best place ever to sleep. So, let's see. Washing a bit of the bones down, probably. What are you doing? And off we go. I think the carcass is so finished, there's really no point in them sticking around. And so each one is kind of having a little look, seeing what's going on, and then off they go again. Very cool to see, though. It's awesome to be able to watch hyenas go about it. And like I say, they led us exactly to the carcass, and you can see nothing really left from yesterday. Anyway, while we kind of figure out where we're going to go to next and see where these marauding hyenas go off, let's go across back to Jamie, who's got, well, another animal that has a very tight-knit family unit, and one with serious intelligence like the hyenas.
Hyenas are up to. We've encountered an elephant roadblock. Not that I will ever complain about this kind of traffic. It really, one absolutely couldn't. It might change my plans slightly, might slow us down, but I will never ever complain. Archie and I were just talking about it actually, and we've seen probably 100 elephants today already, and yesterday was the same. It really feels like at the moment the Mara is packed full of elephants everywhere we look. And I did see the big old male elephant that we saw yesterday. I found him in the end, but he was very far away. I'm hoping when we start heading back at the end of the sunrise safari, I'm hoping he's still somewhere in the region and perhaps a little bit closer to the road. It's also been quite fun watching these elephants navigate this particular area, because there are very high embankments on the side of the road and drainage ditches, mitre drains. It's been quite a tricky process for them, and a lot of them are going down there. That was an easy crossing. A lot of them have actually been going down on using their back knees and leaning down and actually kneeling and putting their front feet forward and then pulling themselves up that way. The little ones have an even tougher time of it. The youngsters have come, well, they've fallen foul of the terrain a few times, trying to get back up to the females. But it's interesting to note, because an elephant can go anywhere a human being can go on 2 legs. In other words, they can't climb, so if we could climb somewhere, we could get where an elephant couldn't go. But I have found elephant dung in the strangest of places, on top of mountains, on top of what we term koppies, which is basically a sort of a little rocky hill. They are surprisingly agile for an animal that looks so lumbering. All 4 of the little ones all gathered in the ditch. They've got quite a climb ahead of them to try and get out again. They're in no hurry, and I'm certainly not going to rush them. I'm going to sit patiently and wait for our roadblock to disperse and for all of them to move across the road. In the meantime, let's go across to James, who's got double the number of legs. Not James, that is, the spider. Oh goodness, never mind, off to James.
I'm very confused. Anyway, here is a spider. It does have 8 legs. Well, it's hiding its legs at the moment. Now, I suspect that this is a form of bark spider, and I think it's probably just left its nest up into the day, simply because, of course, we are sitting in a very cloudy day, and perhaps it's seen fit to keep it out in case some sort of nocturnal insect maybe flies into the constructed web. It's not very well repaired, this one, and I think it's not unlikely that this little bark spider will wrap it up, eat it, and disappear sitting invisibly on one of the tree strands for the rest of the day. I think that's probably what it will do. VM didn't believe me that it was a spider. He still thinks that it's spider dung that is left on the web, but it is definitely the spider. I know it's waving around a lot. Now, we had reports of a leopard coming up into this area from the south. We didn't find any tracks. We did find some lion tracks that had circled there, indicating a lack of appreciation for the different footprints we get here by the person who gave us the report. Let's come around here. And also, I just wanted to quickly tell you the reason I was standing at the pond. First of all, we wanted to show you some mosquito larvae when you last lost us. But also, that was where VM and Herbie and I sat with Shongile for a long time, not more than 5 meters from us, and where she confirmed her place in my heart as my favorite leopard. And perhaps one day that will occur again if we're very, very lucky. Alison, you're wondering about the biggest spider we find. Well, the biggest spider is a very terrifying creature called the rain spider in this area. It's about the size of my palm, or my hand. And it's totally harmless. It is an enormous thing with it's the kind of arachnophobe's ultimate spider. It's got long sort of legs that move very quickly and scuttle along the walls and comes out during the rain. Totally harmless, but looks terrifying to anybody who is slightly arachnophobic. The biggest spider in the world, if I remember correctly from my primary school biology classes, is a spider in South America called the Goliath bird hunting spider, or the Goliath spider that hunts birds. And what it does is it will actually catch small birds in its nest and then eat them. And of course, the fate, if you would imagine dying from spider or being hunted by a spider, absolutely terrifying, because of course what they do is they bite you and then your insides slowly liquefy after you've been wrapped up in silk. Not a nice way to go. While you ponder those things, let them be pushed from your mind by the beauty of elephants.
Elephants have managed to navigate the difficult terrain, or at least a couple of the little ones have. The one at the back is still struggling its way up. Oh, there we go. Down, down, and up and over. Gravity is a harsh mistress when you're an animal as large as an elephant. And often people mistake elephants walking downhill for being angry. Well done, little one. And in reality, it's just because gravity is acting on their bodies, and they have to walk faster because they can't stop. Here we go. Largest female shepherding the rest of the herd. Anna, Leucism in elephants, I know that Tristan has seen an elephant with blue eyes. That wouldn't quite qualify as leucism. You do get albino elephants. It's very rare, which makes sense because obviously being bright white out here is not an ideal color for the animal's skin. So essentially it makes them at enormous risk of skin damage from the sun. So there was an albino elephant born not so long ago. I remember it was in the news and it was pottering about. Tiny, tiny little baby. Pale, pale elephant. So it does happen, but it's rare. And most of the time, albinism or leucism is rare in nature because white is such a... It puts the animal at such a disadvantage. Sorry, we're just going to have a car that wants to come through. No problem, no problem. Okay. Shame. He's saying, I'm sorry, I'm late. So it's not a gene that is selected for by nature because very often the albino animals don't survive. You get it in all sorts of animals. Melanism, on the other hand, is more common, although you don't get melanistic elephants. But melanism is a more common variation just because being black is not as disadvantageous as being white. Makes sense. So things like melanistic leopards are seen relatively regularly, melanistic servals, but leucism and albinism is rarer. Okay, Elise, this is one of my favorite areas that they're in. They're right up above the salt lick, and I think they're probably heading down to drink the water there. And when we talk of the salt lick, that is... What is that elephant doing? The one... where is it now? I'll try and figure out where it is. Yes, just that one there in the middle of your screen right now. Not those two, but the one just to the right of the two. That one's... I think it's playing with a bone. It just threw it over its head. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. Yes, it's osteophagy. There you go, you can just see the elephant at the back picking up the bone and putting it into its mouth. And that is, as I said, known as osteophagy. It's essentially just chewing on bones to supplement calcium. Lots of animals do it. Giraffe in particular are very entertaining to watch while they do something like that. So behind those elephants you can see the salt lick. It's an area with a very, very high mineral content, which is why it was such a draw card for the wildebeest when they moved through this area. The salt lick was always teeming. And as a result, the salt lick pride of lions has been successful, to the point that I've just learned, just this morning, that the salt lick pride have brand new cubs somewhere around here. So that's my plan, is to move on from these ellies now, go off in search of the cheetah, and go off in search of those lion cubs as well. It's very exciting news. You can go and have a look. Apparently they've got 6 new tiny cubs. Just at the age where they've started coming out and joining the pride. But it is a beautiful area, isn't it? It's such a stunning spot. Okay, bye-bye, Elise. Off we go. Yeah, I'm going to have to go through a gremlin hollow as we go through this dip. So what we'll do is we'll go across to Tristan. Let's see whether he's got any more surprises up his sleeve.
No more surprises as yet, Jamie, but we are still hanging around with our hyenas. We're having a wonderful morning, just following the 3 boys around. They all seem to be noses down and busy this morning. They're following all kinds of different scents by the look of things. You can see the noses are down and sniffing, and lots of calling as well that we've had. So hopefully we'll get a whoop out of one of them as we kind of go along. You can also see a lot of salivating. So quite typical of hyenas when they are sort of a bit hyped up, and if they got noses down to the ground, then the salivating means that potentially they're either smelling food or they're smelling other hyenas in their area or something that's getting them rather excited. So we're going to leave this hyena to probably cross over the road right in front of us, which will be fairly pleasant. I don't know where the other 2 have gone. They seem to be left behind somewhere. They were right back down at the dam still, and I thought they'd come up this way, but it seems as though they've been left to do their own thing. And a quick run and hop across the road, and off it goes. Very cool. We've had an awesome morning this morning. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Now, Chava, apparently these hyenas, actually, it's the same three. They were chasing her up into a tree, and so she's still north of the boundary at the moment, and is still kind of hanging around in that area, but apparently the visual is very, very poor, even for the vehicles that are right there, and so we won't be able to get any view of her. But at least it's a good option for this afternoon. I would imagine she is going to come back southwards towards Chitwa, and so I think whoever's on driver, this is Rolf or Noel, one of the two of them, will be out and about, and maybe it will be a good place for them to come and have a little look around later. But I'm very intrigued by these buffalo, or the buffalo dung that I found. I just want to see something here quickly. These tracks here is what I wanted to look at. But they are very, very old zebra tracks. I thought maybe, just maybe, there might be buffalo tracks that we could have a look at, but they are not. And so I was hoping to find a buffalo somewhere. I checked behind Chitwa Dam Wall and all those wallows there, because I thought maybe if there's some buffalo dung, there could be a buffalo hanging around just on the backside somewhere. And unfortunately there was nothing in there. We went and looked around, but it is, after the rain, a bit more flooded and a little more difficult and trickier. Decided, well, we had seen quite a lot this morning, and so I tried to then come backwards. What is that in the road there? Is it a car? Is it a car? It's a car in the road in front of us. That's not what we're looking for. Right, I'm going to move on back towards Djuma, I think, and try and see if I can find some signal and kick away these gremlins that are invading as I get closer. And while we do that, let's go across to Mr. 100% himself and see how he's doing this morning and what his plans are for the rest of the day.
Well, welcome back. We are still in search of the 5 boys. So we're probably about 3 kilometers from Sekanani, about 5 or 6 kilometers from Talek. And somewhere in this area was where the boys were last seen. And with a lovely herd of zebra and impala and a lot of baboons scuttling about. But as you can see, it can be quite difficult country to find stuff here. It's lots of bushes, lots of places to have a snooze under. But we're hoping that the cheetah boys stick to their normal routines and go scent mark all the big balanites trees, like the one off to the left of us. So that's why we're choosing this route. One of their favorite areas to scent mark is on these big balanites trees. So we're moving along the balanites ridge. So going from tree to tree, I'm checking if there's any fresh dung or fresh urine marks on the trees. So far, no luck. Maybe they did a dirty on us and went the opposite direction. There we go. You can see the baboons walking past in the background. Hello, bobos. But it is a beautiful area, and I'm hoping that we are going to get some luck with these 5 boys at some time today. Jahawi and I are out for the whole day today, so we will be hopefully sitting with the cheetah waiting for them to hunt. If not, we're going to be searching for the whole day for the cheetah. But either way, I'm sure we're going to have a wonderful time. So, as I said, this is an area we haven't spent a lot of time in. It is quite far. I've probably done about 45 kilometers since I left camp this morning, following up on reports of those cheetah. So far there's been no reports of any female cheetah anywhere in that area. So the last report I heard is that Malika is a double crossing on the ridge. So that's another probably 20 kilometers on the roads from here, about 10 kilometers as the crow flies. But then again, you never know. Miale was seen 3 days to 4 days ago between where we are now and Kikarok. So she could have moved into this area. So we're going to have to weigh up our options and see what happens if we're unlucky with the musketeers. But while we do that, James is at one of the most wonderful waterholes on Djuma.
I am. I'm at Treehouse Waterhole, surrounded by the tinking of the blacksmith lapwing, which VM refuses to film, and there is also a hoopoe off to one side, but I don't think we're going to manage to get that. So what I'm going to do is try and desperately not fall on my backside and show you a flower over here. Yellow flowers, the names of which I don't think I know. No, I don't think I do. Come over here, Wumpy. It's a sort of creeping flower. Well, it looks a little bit like a hibiscus of some sort, actually, if you look at the leaves. Could well actually be a very baby small hibiscus of some description, but I'm not sure which one it is. So that's quite nice. In fact, they're all over this little area. They're growing in amongst the thicket that has been growing up around this old black monkey thorn that is now dead. And look at all the grass that has been captured by the tree. And remember, we were talking very early on about the point of putting these branches out on the sort of eroded areas, and this is why. So this will immediately tie up the erosion. Let's go down towards the water's edge. And again, try not to fall into the water. Whoops, the daisies. A cricket. You have found a cricket? Where? Underneath that stone. Oh, you have found a cricket. Well done, Viam. That is quite genius of you. Let us expose him, shall we? There he is. Now a cricket, I feel, is one of those creatures that has what might be described as a face for radio. In other words, they look fairly beastly. They look fairly terrifying, like cockroaches, sort of sticky outs at the end. But they make such wonderful sounds in the night, in summer. Now what you can see here at the back, that little bit there that I'm poking, and what she will do is probably lay her eggs. Well, she will definitely lay her eggs with that ovipositor happen in the ground. Well done, Viam. Shall we cover her up again? She's probably made a nice little home here that you have now disturbed by telling me that it was there. There you are, madam. As you were. Oh, she's turned round. Hello. I must confess, you're not the most beautiful creature I've ever seen in my life, but you do have a very nice voice. Well, probably your husband did. Not sure. Do the females stridulate? I don't know. I don't think they do. Anyway, that is a cricket. Let's head down to the water's edge now. Oh, Lisa Marie, you say, are there any mammals out here that I'd feel safe enough to touch? No, not really. Look, there aren't any mammals that would let you touch them out here, except maybe, I guess a hedgehog might. If you could find a hedgehog, it might let you touch it. If you find a bush baby that's asleep, they take a long time to wake up. You could probably touch one of those. But no adult mammal out here would allow you to get anywhere near touching it. And if you did, just about all of them would turn around and either bite you or scratch you, and you would be in quite a lot of pain. So no, there is no mammal out here that I would feel comfortable touching. And of course not would I want to, except one always, like many of you have, secret desires, and some of you not so secret desires, to cuddle a leopard cub. You know, it would be so nice if when we were on foot that day with Shongile, she'd wandered over and just kind of sidled up to us. But of course that is never going to happen. And if it did, you won't want to be that close to a leopard. Much too strong, much too powerful, much too scary when they get cross. Now what I'm looking for, hopefully here, is some kind of water insect, like a water boatman. There's one. Can you see that thing there, Liam?
It's gone now.
There's another one there.
Yeah.
Now these are these water boatmen, and they live upside down. They're remarkable creatures. They live upside down, and they trap. Here's one. That's on the surface. That's a different kind. They live on. They're upside down. They trap air bubbles in the hairs of their abdomens, and they use those to breathe. There we go. And there was some other fascinating fact about them I've now forgotten. They're able to kind of flick away. I've forgotten how though. They're able to flick away from predators by flipping over and then sort of taking off. So that's the water boatman. And then you get the ones that live on the surface of the water, which are a bit different from the ones that live underneath. Very nice. I was also hoping to see if we wouldn't find another one of those whip scorpions with its little breathing tube out of the water, like we saw yesterday. But I don't see any of those. Okay, Liam, you go up that way, I'll go up this way. We'll meet on the other side. I just need to get my stick, of course. Whoops. Crews are not exactly grippy. Alright. We are going to start making our way towards the gentle smell of bacon coming from home. While we do that, let's go across to Jamie, who is still searching the open plains of the Masai Mara.
So, we have arrived where we had the cheetah yesterday, and now I've got to try and find her again. There are so many potential termite mounds that I'm just driving, to be honest. I'm just driving along in the hope that we bump into her. Oh, it's impossible for us to know what happened last night. If the lions came through, the Salt Lick Pride, if they came through here, there's a good chance she's moved off. Because she's not going to keep her little cubs anywhere where there are lions hanging about. If they didn't, then there's plenty of food. It's ideal terrain. So this is exactly where she would want to be. We just had to take that chance. So I'm straining my eyes. The problem is, the first time when we arrived here yesterday, I drove past her the first time because the angle that I was at, she was hidden behind a termite mound. And it was only when sorry about the squeaky steering wheel, by the way. It was only when I came back in the opposite direction that I saw her. Come on, girl, please be around. Maybe she's lying in that shade of that tree. It's warm. She might have chased something. Let's go and find out. Oh, it's a bit rocky. Come on, Cheetah. Pop out. Where are you? Also, now the guys in Djuma have put the idea of bacon in my head. Now it's all I can think of. Come on, girl. It was a shot in the dark coming back here to where she was, but it was definitely worth it. Even if we don't find her. Okay, she's not in the shade of that tree. There were two vehicles that came along this road, and they said that they hadn't seen her. This side. My concern is if she's gone over this ridge that's up ahead of us, that will be the end of our signal, I suspect. So Tanzania is just there. Okay, I'm going to peer across every termite mound in the hope that we get lucky and we find the cheetah with her cubs. In the meantime, what we'll do is we'll send you back across to Tristan, who's peering about the bush back in South Africa.
I'm messing about. I'm just driving around, having a look around to see what's happening, and scraper thrushes that are out. There's one that's out in the open there, Sens. There we go. So that little ground scraper thrush who's giving Senzo a hard time. They're all running behind thickets. But I love their business. They kind of hop about and run around, and they are a beautiful bird. They kind of from the back look very drab, but when they turn and they've got these bright black markings around the face and the chest area, and then these orange legs and beak. They're one of my sort of favorite thrushes that we get in this area. In fact, it is my favorite thrush, and they often see them in this particular section. We see them kind of around Treehouse, around Philemon's, Quarantine, anywhere where there's sort of disturbed areas, you tend to find these guys. And I'm interested watching them because they kind of run around and they go after all kinds of different things, and you can see how well they camouflage. If they put their back to us, it's very difficult to see them, and they'll then move around and try and pick up little insects, various other things that they can find on the ground. So little joy to watch these guys, and most of their time is spent on the ground like this. You find that they will fly up into trees when they are disturbed, but 90% of the time they are down on the ground looking for food items, running along and exercising those legs. That's one of the better ground scraper thrush sightings I've had in a long time. Very cool. They're generally quite shy birds. When you kind of come up, they tend to fly away, so super cool to watch one running around, or actually a pair of them, should I say, not just one running around. Right, around the corner it's gone. We're going to carry on and see if there's anything else that we can find, and see what else is around and out and about, because there seems as though not many updates being given by anybody since we were last in this area and since we were down at Chitwa. But while we figure out where we're going to go to next, go Henry, who I believe is silly back to you.
Kick your finger.
Are we live? We are live. I suddenly couldn't see through my binoculars, and I looked down and there was the camera lens in my face, and VM was trying to be artistic about showing me looking at the wilderness. Anyway, what we've got is a hyena den, or a den of some sort, that looks very freshly used. And I've seen this termite mound before, but I have never seen it looking quite so well used and cleaned. And so we're not going to go up to it on foot. I'm going to come back here, or someone's going to come back here in a vehicle and have a look-see. I'm just trying to see, that's not the road, is it? No. There's a lot of cleared ground around it, which indicates to me that it is probably being used. Let's just walk slowly around this way. I did see a duiker taking off from here. Duiker, of course, do not keep dens, do they, Vim? Maybe this one did. We won't go right up to it. I just want to have a slightly closer look. Hey man, this is the original den. This is the original den that's been cleaned out. That's very interesting. I came past here yesterday and I didn't see one track here. There's the termite mound. Okay, let's go onto the road and we'll see if we can find some tracks, because that looks very clean to me. Now by clean I mean that it doesn't look like there's any growth on there. It doesn't look like sort of freshly eroded soil from the rain. It's a nost. Wildebeest. Big herd of wildebeest. No hyena tracks. Maybe I'm just being hopeful about this den. Connor, you ask a very good question, and it's one that I've wrestled with in my own mind. Not because I think we'll ever do it, but I have thought about the ethics of it. You say, would it be bad to tag the animals? Is there some problem with tagging them, making them easier to find? Well, practically, Yes, it is. It's difficult because you can't put something subcutaneous in them. It's got to have a battery, and if you wanted to run the whole time, they haven't managed to make a battery yet that is small enough to put subcutaneously, so under the skin. It must be on a collar, and a collar obviously means that it's ugly, A, and B, it's a slight inconvenience for the animal. But mostly, of course, every time you have to replace the battery, you have to dart the animal, replace the battery, and then try and find it again. Well, not try and find it again. You've got to dart the animal, replace the collar, replace the battery, give it the antidote, and make it go away. So you're basically anesthetizing it every single time you do that. That brings with it enormous ethical consequences, to which, certainly that wouldn't be acceptable to me. The other part of it is, let's pretend that you could find something that operated off the heat of the body. I suppose in a technological world, wouldn't it be great if we got onto the vehicle in the morning, we loaded up an iPad that was sitting on the car, and it had a map, and it had all the animals that we like to see, and we could decide, let's go and see Thandi today and see what she's doing. She's in a good signal area, looks like she's on a kill, let's go and have a look. I suspect that anybody who hadn't done a drive like we're doing them now would find that amazing. They're going to go and find these animals. Yeah, the animal's tagged. We wouldn't lie about it, of course, but you'd have action all the time. You'd always have an animal. The romance of what we do out here, the unexpected nature of walking through a wilderness area, in fact, the entire concept of wilderness as it exists for us now, I think would evaporate entirely, and I think that would be very sad. We walk through this area exploring, hoping to find different things. A lot of the time we don't find the things that we're looking for, but we come across other interesting things that we might enjoy seeing. And it means that we have an immersive and holistic wilderness experience where we look at things like grass and water boatmen and flowers we don't know because we can't just go to the big animals. They're very difficult to find, and sometimes they're just simply not around, and sometimes we can go weeks without seeing a leopard or a lion. I mean, it doesn't often happen like that, but sometimes it does, and that means that we get a holistic wilderness experience, and that's the whole point of what we're doing out here. It is not necessarily simply to provide action. Like I say, though, in a world where delayed gratification is something out of fashion, or somewhat out of fashion, I suspect that if you were to start a show tomorrow without any of the background that you now have of a live safari or just being in the wild, and all the animals were tagged, I think you'll find that it would be extremely popular and a lot of people would watch it. Would it give you the same experience that you're getting here, with the frustrations which include, or which make the highs that much higher? No, I don't think it would give you anything like that kind of a show. So that's my answer to why we don't tag animals. Now, we're going to go across to the Kenya, where, of course, the Masai Mara is 100% live.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, we haven't had any luck with the cheetah, but I think we've got some on the ground. Oh, he's back in the tree. We've got some birds that will definitely be a new one for your bird lists. And it is a grey-capped sociable weaver. They're hopping around a little bit. All right, now, of course, the one... Oh, you... Okay, we're just going to be patient. One will appear into the open at some point. And there's quite a few of them in here. There we go, onto the ground. There we go, a grey-capped social weaver. And I'm sure that's a lovely new bird. There's one a little bit closer to us, John. You can see the grey cap really nicely. There you go, you can see that very prominent grey cap. So, being a sociable weaver, they like to stay together. And also, they normally nest together. I haven't found any of their nests yet, but I'm hoping that we will be able to find one of their sociable weaver nests. So they're always very fascinating to watch. And the snake species always love a good sociable weaver nest because lots of babies all together. Chip, 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 chip. Hoppity, hoppity, hoppity. There we go. There's a nice new bird, I think, for everyone. The grey-capped sociable weaver. Oh, grey-capped social weaver. Now, the wind is starting to get quite strong at the moment. And I am hoping that we are able to find these cheetah, because they might take a chance at hunting in this wind. Gives them a bit of a benefit. Now, we're just to the south of the Talek River. Hello, Impalalas. Now, we just saw some of the rangers out on patrol. They're doing an incredible job at the moment, maintaining the Mara. So it is always great to see them, and always a happy, smiley face when they see our car, which is always nice to know. As a lot of the guys have spent a lot of nights out in the bush with us, so we've made some good friends amongst the rangers of the Masai Mara. Oh, hello, little Tommies. And you can see there's 3 little Tommies there. Have a look. You can see how they've been birthed at slightly different times. You've got 3 young little Tommies at 3 slightly different sizes. I do love their tails. Much longer than most antelopes. Keep all those frisky flies away. Now, E.T. is wondering, what is the best example of a mutually beneficial relationship in the Mara, or mutualism? Well, I think it's probably one of the more similar ones that you will see all over Africa. And it is not exclusive to wild animals. It's the relationship between oxpeckers, wild animals, or oxpeckers and domestic livestock. So that's probably the most common and most easily observed mutualism that happens. Now, of course, you do get wax bills here, but they're called cordon bleus. So I have seen, actually very close to camp, excuse me, a grenadier, which is also a type of wax bill. Their nest, and they do the same thing as that the blue waxbills do in southern Africa, and they nest very close to paper wasp nests. So there's another nice example of that. Trying to think. Mutualism. There's lots of different things, but those are the more common and more obvious ones, without going into the minutiae of the insect world. So we're coming up on top of a crest here, and we're going to have a very big view of this section of the Mara. Hello, grumpy zebra. Just looks grumpy. I'm quite glad it's warming up. It was really cold this morning. Now, this is the spot where the boys were, and there's no sign of them further to the east, and we came in from the south. So what we're going to do is we're going to check towards the west, down towards Talek, maybe down towards Balloon Crossing, that area. Now, we haven't quite earned our breakfast yet, but we're still working at it. But it seems like Commander Bond thinks he has, and he's already on his way home, following the wafting smell from Amanda's kitchen of bacon.
Yes, indeed, the wafting smell of Amanda's kitchen. But before we do that, we're hoping to get the wafting smell of wild dogs. They're heading on to the reserve. Tristan's with them, obviously, with no signal. And we think that they're going to go up towards quarantine clearing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to head that way. Tristan will follow them and hopefully get some signal during the course of their travels. They're not far from here. Well, they're on the eastern boundary, and it'll take wild dogs roughly 5 minutes to run from the eastern boundary towards quarantine. My prediction is that they will either come towards quarantine, or maybe they will go down towards Treehouse Dam. But if they do that, by that time there will be 158 vehicles with them. So, we need to be out of the area. But if we're very lucky, we'll hit quarantine at roughly the same time that they do. Because a wild dog on foot is an experience, a little bit like the one I described with seeing lions on foot. It opens that fissure in the shell that has isolated us from our connection with the wild. Before we head all the way up there, let's have a quick look at this red flower. The red flower of the dwarf boerbean, or Scotia capitata. There it is. And just like most of the flowers I've seen today, we're not exactly sort of, not exactly in pristine shape, I wouldn't say. I'm still uncomfortable with my identification of the seeds in that civet tree. Remember that at the beginning of the drive? And I wondered if it maybe wasn't from this pod, but I don't think it is. Anyway, beautiful red colours, of course. An unusual colour out here. Bright red. Good. Let's just pop down into this drainage system where I can hear some alarm calling. I can hear an alarm calling a go-away bird alarming at Herbert, almost certainly. Kendra, you say bushwalk with wild dogs would be awesome. It is possibly one of the most awesome things that can be done out here. Puffback shrikes going. We've got crested barbets. Ooh. We've also got a flowering albizia tree. There's another nice flower. A false thorn. Lots of alarm calling around here. Here's the flower. Let's have a smell. It is so subtle and sweet. It really has the most gorgeous smell. It's like... there's a hint of jasmine, there's a hint of rose, and a hint of honey. I suppose that's what it would be. And it's very much subtle. And there is also a giraffe that VM spotted. Well done, VM. Isn't that cool? Feels like the bush is coming alive around us now. Lots of birds calling. Just beautiful. I think also the parrots, crested barbet, hornbills, red-chested cuckoos. Let's go a little bit closer to this giraffe. We're on our way up towards quarantine now. I'm afraid I don't think that Herbert and Jeff Daniels saw the giraffe. Anyway, the giraffe is now absconded. Come on, let's carry on. Not a lot of water coming through this drainage system just yet. These, of course, will turn purple fairly soon. All right, we're going to get up onto quarantine quite quickly. While we do that, let's head across to Pajamas, who apparently is on the open road.
So we've abandoned the search, I'm sorry, no sign of her. There are other vehicles moving about also looking for her, and none of us have had any luck. And since it's very quiet that side and our signal's a little bit shaky, we're on our way home. But what we will do is take a different route home, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get lucky. If we zoom on past towards that outcrop, that's what I think I shall do. It's just one of those things, trying to find a cheetah that you've had the night before, unless you're with it the entire night, is almost impossible. It really is. And we can't track here. That's the other difficulty. If it was Djuma and we knew where the animal was the night before, you know that you're going to go and that you're going to find at least one track to give you a direction. Whereas here, it's impossible. The ground is too hard, there's too many vehicles driving over it. There's no way. Oh well, we'll keep trying and hopefully we get to see her as we get to know her a little bit better. James, I wouldn't be able to tell you an exact number. So James's question is, what's the furthest a cheetah will travel with cubs? I bet she could easily cover 4 or 5 miles if she wanted to with those little ones. She might be more inclined to stay in one place, but you've seen how lions will trek the cubs all the way from one side of the northern Sabi sands to the other. When we tracked the sticks with the tiny cubs back when they were small, we tracked them. They walked easily 20 kilometers, judging by their footprints. So I would assume that cheetah are much the same, and cheetah are highly nomadic. So my guess would be that she could, if she wanted to, cover big distances, and those cubs are not tiny anymore. Little cubs, obviously that's a different story. Little cubs that are still in a den site, Mom will have to keep returning to feed them. So in that situation, she's not going to go very far at all. She'll go as far as she needs to keep herself fed, and then she'll come back to them. But when we're talking about distance traveled, I was about to talk about elephants, but I think it's to do with my name, Jamie Patterson, JP, PJ, pajamas. I think it essentially evolved from that connection. I don't know, it just was one of those nicknames that just happened. It just kind of happened. Scott calls me Jamil and James calls me Pajamas. And then the rest of the crew are sort of divided. Kirsty generally calls me Jamil. Nicknames are essential. They are a part of our lives. And for some reason Jamie lends itself to all sorts of nicknames. Jamie, Jim Jam, Jams, all kinds of names. Oh, more Ellies, yay! And this was the route I was going to take home. Home, by the way, is still a long way away. It's still about an hour away. That's the same Ellies that we had earlier. But it looks like they've joined up with another herd. Let's go and get a bit closer. I once got lost many weeks ago, many months ago now, during a rainstorm. Got completely turned around, had no clue. I knew you never get lost completely. You always know roughly where you're going, or at least roughly where you are, but you don't know how to get to where you want to be, or how to find an animal, which is the best road to take. I got lost and I ended up on this road with Viam, skidding about in the mud. Hello to Caitlin, who is 7 years old. Oh, not 7, 11. I'm sorry, I misheard that. Who is 11 years old. I'm so sorry, Caitlin. Now you want to know if it's birding season. Did I hear that correctly, Kirst? You wanted to know if it was birding season here in the Mara. Oh, birthing season. Goodness, what's wrong with my hearing? Right, Caitlin, let's try that all again, shall we? Caitlin, who is 11 years old, would like to know if it's birthing season in the Mara. It is. It's the best. There are baby zebra everywhere, baby warthog everywhere. the birthing seasons are not as strict in the Mara as they are in South Africa, because in South Africa there's one set rainy season, and that's when it rains, and then there's a dry season, and they're just coming out of the dry season now.
Hello, we are live again on Quarantine Clearings, and I'm afraid what's happened, of course, is that the wild dogs have gone to sleep in an area where there is no signal. I don't think they did that on purpose, but they certainly have done it, and so I'm afraid no wild dogs at the moment. Tristan is staying with them. He's going to stay out a little bit longer just to see if perhaps they don't get up and come into a place where there is some signal. So that is the state of play at the moment. I'm not sure what's happened to the Mara. I imagine the reserve is still there, but perhaps we are having technical glitches as well. So that's the story, I'm afraid. I wasn't expecting to come live, so what I'm going to do now is with you search for some interesting piece of biology that we can talk about. I will tell you that the wind has done some astounding things today. Let's just go over there and have a look at that. The wind has started off blowing from the southwest. It's now coming from the northeast, which is very unusual, and I wonder if we won't perhaps have some rain. Look at this very special plant. I've never seen this before. I don't think. It's an asparagus. It's an asparagus of some kind.
Big flies.
And there are big flies on it, yeah. You would therefore kind of expect it not to smell sweet, but smell a little bit like dung or rotting flesh, which it doesn't. Isn't that a beastly looking fly? Well, this is an asparagus species of some description. Oh, and it would be so nice to see this flower under the microscope, wouldn't it? There are actually a number of flies here. There's one of those pirate flies. It looks like a... it's gone. No. Okay, we're okay now. Apparently the Mara is back up, so this will probably be the last time you see me. We'll hand you back to the Mara and Brent now.
Were we live? Well, we're live. Hi. So we seem to be having a bit of comms difficulty in this area. Now, we're moving along the edge of the Talek River, looking for the five boys in case they came down off those ridges. We drove down the ridges, or up along the ridges earlier. So we're now just slowly heading back, seeing if they've maybe moved down towards the Talek. After that, we're going to head back up onto the crest and down towards Balloon Crossing. But it is a very pretty morning, a very quiet morning in the Mara so far. Soraya's wondering, have wild dogs ever been sighted in the Mara Triangle? Yes, Soraya, but only once since I've been in Kenya. They have been sighted a few more times in the Greater Reserve, once around the Musiara Marsh, and another time actually very close to where we are now. Well, between here and Sekanani Gate. So you never know, we might get extremely lucky and bump into some puppies. I'd love to see wild dogs hunting on these open plains. I think it would be absolutely spectacular. And a lot easier for me to keep up with them. Wow, this is just very quiet at the moment. There's a lot of Tommies around, so there's plenty of food around for cheetah, and we're just not finding any cheetah at the moment. So all the vehicles we've bumped into and had a chat to today, no one has seen cheetah. And the only pride of lions that's been seen that I know of is the one that we saw way up on top of the hills there, close to Sekanani. But it seems like Jamie's having much better luck than me for the second drive in a row. So let's go see what she's got now.
We have a beautiful young male lion, and it was pure luck that we just happened to choose this road, and he happened to be sitting right next to it. As to which young male lion this is, I have absolutely no idea. He's around the salt lick. He is close to the outcrop near the salt lick, but beyond that, I can't tell you much about him at all. I don't know this, or I don't think I know this lion. But what we can do is we can try and figure out who he is. And to do that, for our viewers who are new to these live safaris, the way in which you identify lions, obviously scars and nicks on the ears, those all help, missing teeth, but the foolproof way is to have a look at a different feature. He's very pretty, isn't he? And that is those whisker spots over there. So the whisker spots that a lion cub is born with will stay the same for the rest of their lives. And each lion has... Oh, it's like he's gone shy. He heard me talking about his whisker spots and he hid them away. Each lion has a unique fingerprint in their whisker spots. It's unique to each lion. So there we go. He's giving us his right side, sort of. No, don't. Oh, dozy. I was going to try and say screenshot it and send it through on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and we might be able to figure out if we've seen this lion before, which is possible, or who he may be. My first thought when I saw him was that it was one of the two young males that we saw when we first got here, and then we saw them being chased away by big male lions. But I don't think so. He seems to be all by himself. He might be part of the Salt Lick Pride. Brent might know him. In fact, Brent spent more time in this area, so he might know this male. Young-ish. 4, 5. He's got a bit of dark to his mane. He hasn't got a full head of hair yet, though. And sleep. It's a good morning for dozing in the sun. It's been cold and windy. Very, very windy this morning. I love how he's hidden his head behind that bush. We might have to do some shuffling around so we can actually see his face. And I think this will probably be his plan for the rest of the day. He might wander off into the shade, although the Mara lions are not afraid of a bit of sun, I've noticed. They like to sunbathe. Possibly because it never gets as hot here as it does in the low veld. Okay, Archie, let's reposition and get his face out from behind a tree. Hey, boy. Yes. Now you lift your head. There we go. Sorry, Kirst, I forgot to turn you up when I turned on the car engine, which I have to keep remembering to do. Soraya, I don't know. If I shouldn't laugh, I'm sorry, because of course we often speak about the sausage tree fruit and how massive they are. But Soraya's question is, has a sleeping lion ever been killed or injured by a falling sausage tree fruit? I doubt it. I think they're pretty resilient. I think that they could probably survive even that sort of knock. But maybe if it was a big sausage tree fruit and it landed on its head, possibly. And there are so... Lions have been around for many years and over a large area. So I guess maybe somewhere in the realms of possibility there was one lion that was killed by a falling sausage fruit. Oh, it's not a silly question, because we always talk about the sausage tree fruits, and especially in a place like Kruger, where people have mistakenly parked their vehicles under sausage trees, and the fruits have fallen down and landed on their cars and done some serious damage. And it could potentially kill a human, and of course falling coconuts kill humans. So it's just for me to give you an idea of just how big a sausage tree fruit is. Let me show you with my hands. Let me give you a demonstration. So, sausage tree fruit, I have to find you some to show you. A sausage tree fruit can get to be about that big, not that long, possibly even longer, and about that wide in terms of its roundy thing, circumference. Thank you. The roundy thing, the circumference. Thanks, Archie. You knew what I meant. And they can be up to 12, even 15 kilograms, so over 30 pounds, which means they could potentially, if falling from up high, knock a lion on the head. Perhaps lions are more sensible than we give them credit for. Perhaps they don't lie underneath fruiting sausage tree trees. Oh gosh, I'm getting confused. Anyway, he seems to be quite content, and fortunately in no danger of being killed by a sausage tree fruit. As far as I can tell, no sausage trees around. I did drive past one a little earlier. So no. I've certainly never seen it, and I've certainly never heard of it happening, but can I say it's never happened? No, I cannot. It really might be that they know to avoid it. So, don't stress, for those of you, I asked if anybody knew who he was. I think we're going to have to dig quite deep to figure out which male this is. But we're still broadening our understanding of this area, and it would have been impossible for us to have a complete grasp of the different animals that we see immediately. We're still building up our lion family trees and our lion understanding of who fits in where. And in certain areas the lions are better known than others and better followed. Donna, please don't try and eat a sausage tree fruit. You can if it's been specially prepared and dried in a way that will reduce its toxicity, but you shouldn't eat the sausage tree fruit. And as a result, I don't know what it tastes like, because it is in fact poisonous, and it will make you feel very, very ill. So please don't try and eat a sausage tree fruit. It is not, despite its name, it is not a breakfast item. No, you really don't want to eat sausage tree fruits. I am very jealous of the Djuma crew, because very soon, speaking of fruits, very soon they are going to find themselves with fruiting marulas. What is it, another 2 months or so before the marulas start to bear fruit? No way, already! Kirsty says that the marula trees are fruiting already. I do miss non-ripe ones, but still. Perhaps I better ask. Oh no, but Megan's not on Djuma at the moment, is she, Kirst? Because she's coming up here next. I thought maybe I could ask her to bring some marula fruit for us. But then she'd get stopped at customs. Kirsty says they're not sharing with us. Well, fine, then I won't give you any of the sausage tree fruits. See if I care. Okay, I'm going to leave this line now. We've got quite a long way to go to get home, and we do actually have a couple of meetings that we were meant to have today. I have a suspicion I'm going to be late as it is, which isn't a disaster, but I am going to have to probably leave this line. R. Lara Moore, marulas, what is wrong with my brain today? Marulas do not taste like guavas. hence where the gorilla came in. Guavas, marulas, got confused in my head. They don't taste like guavas. They taste... They can be very, very sweet, but they've got a citrusy taste, quite a tart taste to them. I find it difficult to describe, especially having not eaten a marula for a year. I always find it difficult to describe. They're sweet, they're juicy, they are delicious. And let's put it this way, I really like marula fruit, and I really don't like guava. So there's not much similarity there at all. And the trick is to get them when they're bright and yellow. It sounds as though the walking team has returned, the bushwalk team, hence why the lion became Herbert. Well, at least we've identified it. James, please give Herbie a big hug for me. And tell him I say hi. And I'll tell everyone else I say hi as well, but Herbie is the one I haven't seen for the longest time. Is he gone? Okay, fine. Well, it's time for me to go as well. Goodbye, Herbert the lion. Your name shall forever after be Herbie. Kirsty, did you lose control of your keyboard there? Did James come in and pirate it for a little while? Will wonders never cease as we move away from our male lion and start heading for home? It sounds like Brent has found a signal and he can hear final control.
As we are back, I can hear final control again. And still no luck with the musketeers. They are proving to be quite tricky today. But that's how it goes out here. Oh, but we do have a few other animals, including one of the cutest creatures out in the African bush. And, well, one of a lion's favourite snacks as well. Hello, little pigs. You can see there's some having a drink there. Mom just keeping a cautious eye on us, making sure we're not up to any nonsense. Oh, they are so cute when they run. Look, there's the runt in the middle there. They're smaller than everyone else. Shame, poor little guy. Maybe it's better. Maybe you're a bit faster when the lions come running. So it's quite a strong wind, or not strong, but a strong breeze up on top of these crests today. And we do have some feathers that are being fluttered by the breeze and ahead of us. So there's a little group of ostriches and Thompson's gazelles. And you can see their feathers being raised by the wind. This area seems to have had a little bit less rain than the other parts that we've been in for this morning. Look a bit funny with their feathers being blown up like that. Now let's just keep moving on a little bit. So we're getting onto the edge of the loiter herds of wildebeest again. But it's quite late in the day already, so we're checking all the little bits of shade, seeing if the cheetah haven't maybe gone flat in the shade already. I'm hoping not. But the wildebeest seem quite spread out. I'm quite interested to see what it's like further down the Talek Valley. And if we have no luck before the end of the sunrise safari, I will stop for a cup of tea and some breakfast. And then we're going to head down the Talek Valley, see if we get any luck in that area. Sorry, Kirst, you broke up a little bit there. Can you go again? Oh, we get much closer to the ostriches now. There we go. Jogging ostriches. Anna Marie is wondering, is the relationship between zebra and wildebeest also mutualism? It is, but it isn't so much. It is a form of mutualism, but it's not a specific needed have to be sort of mutualism. So I suppose mutualism, both benefit, none are harmed. Yes, I suppose you could call the relationship between wildebeest and zebra mutualism, but the wildebeest and zebra are often quite happy to go off on their own and not have that relationship going on. So it is a form of mutualism, yes, but one of those. I suppose it is. Yes, it is. Anne-Marie, you are correct. Oh, birders. I've been looking for them. I saw a big flock of them a while ago. So you see that wildebeest is just in front of that wildebeest, probably 50 meters. There's tiny little things. You got the wilde?
The wilde on the left or the right?
On the right. The one that's where we now. A little bit to the right. There we go. That's the one. There's a flock of Caspian plovers. Now, there's only one in sight now, but there's actually quite a few of them around. So that's definitely a new one for the bird list. Caspian plovers. Now, at this time of the year, they're highly nomadic and migratory, and they pop up all over the place looking for decent areas to feed in. So that is the Caspian plover. Here we go. I think we got two new birds. No cheetah, but two new birds. That's always lovely. Now, if the cheetah haven't come along this line of trees here towards Talek, they might have even crossed down towards El Koyambo and the ridge. They do go that way sometimes. And the fact that no one in this area has seen them today could mean that they might have crossed the Talek. They also could have headed into Naibosho Conservancy. That's where they come from. So, or a lot of them come from. So we will keep searching. Hopefully we can get some more information when we go to past Talek. See if anyone's got the whereabouts of the five boys. I think Jahawi and I are going to have a meeting while we have our coffee to decide whether how long a day we're going to have and how many kilometers we're going to cover. Because we could maybe sneak across and go look for Malaika. There's always that possibility. She is quite far from here. There we go. If we look sort of directly ahead over there on the horizon, there we go. That's where she is, somewhere over there. So it is quite far, but let's see what information we can get while we're in Talek town on our way through to see if we're going to make the mission all the way down to the ridge, or we're going to keep searching this area. You know, no, Amani might have been found back towards Silas or Kikarok. It's been very, very quiet this morning, and I'm hoping we have some luck during the day. I'm heading up towards another one of these big Balanites trees that the cheetah like to scent mark against. Have a quick squiz, see if there's any fresh sign. And negative. No fresh sign of cheetah. Okay, well, we're going to keep searching while we do that. Let's go see what Jamie's up to on the other side of the Mara.
I'm taking the back routes home. Little secret shortcut that I just so happen to know about. Somehow. I don't know, I found it. I found it once while lost, which is the best way to find things. So I'm taking my sneaky, slightly bumpy back route. I actually really think it might be quicker. Really might actually be a shortcut. I should have done this before. Oh, the wind is howling down here, blowing grass seeds at us. It's the one thing I confess I don't particularly like about the Mara. I mean, I'm sure I shouldn't say this, but the constant wind. And I find that some people really like windy places and some people really don't. And I'm one of those people that really doesn't like wind. It unsettles me. Obviously you get used to it, but windy days unsettle me. I'm sure there's something instinctive in it. The same way animals get unsettled in the wind. Although I've noticed that the effect is not as noticeable here as it is in South Africa, which again makes sense because it's much more open here. So the fact that it's windy might not upset the animals as much because they can still see. They can see around them. Might give them a little extra level of confidence. Hello, Ellies. Okay. Here we go. We've got a lovely way to end off our sunrise safari. Massive tusks on this elephant. This is a youngster. No, don't run away. It's not even a youngster, it's a female. It is a female. As I was driving along, I was thinking her forehead looks like it's got that angle to it. Look at that. It's a female elephant. You'd think I'd have stopped being surprised by now at the size of the tusks of the elephants here, but I'm not. I'm still taken aback. That's crazy. You can see she's a little bit stressed, secreting from her temporal glands. Her body language was a little bit unsettled as we drove up, but I don't think it's got anything to do with us. I think it's something that's happened. There are a lot of large male elephants about, and by the smell of this area, a lot of them are in must. I've encountered one or two of them already. It seems like they've all gathered together to harass the females in this area. And that would explain why she's looking a little bit unsettled. Or like she has been unsettled. Jeepers. Those tusks are crazy. There are, of course, elephants like female elephants that have tusks like this in South Africa. But you don't see them often. You really don't. They are so few and far between that they're even given names in the Kruger and listed among the female tuskers. That's how unusual it is. Whereas here, they're common. Really very impressive. There's just the two elephants here. And I think that's largely because they've just been separated from the herd while they've been feeding. I don't think it's a herd of just two elephants. I think the rest of them are a little bit ahead or a little bit behind. Maybe they were slow eaters, slow movers. Who knows? The world out here is full of all kinds of mysteries. And we don't have the answers to more than half of them, I would say. But we do have some answers. Anyway, on that note, it is time for us to do our goodbyes, our farewells, and our thank yous, and our wrap-up of the entire drive. So a big thank you to Archie for his wonderful camera work. Well done. I'm sorry I didn't find you cheetah cubs, but it's just one of those things. As well as to Kirsty and to Faith in final control in the Mara. Our entire team, but most importantly, the big thank you goes to all of you. So thank you for joining us. We'll catch up with you on the Sunset Safari. I don't know what it's going to hold, but I'm sure it'll be exciting.